Hey everyone, I'm Ms.Murray and welcome to Wondering Wednesday. Today's segment is going to be So You Want to Be a ... where we interview someone that is in a really interesting career. So when people ask you what you want to be when you grow up, you might have some ideas because of people we talk to right here. So today we're going to be talking to Beth, who is an innovator. So what's an innovator? Well, it's somebody that makes people think creatively. So this is a really long, amazing conversation with Beth, and I cannot wait for you to hear it. So let's get right on into it. Hello everybody, I'm Ms.Murray, and this is Wondering Wednesday. Today we are going to be talking to an innovator named Beth. So thank you so very much for being here today, Beth.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's go on and jump right into these questions to learn about what exactly an innovator is and what you do. So what inspired you to become an innovator?
So I live in New York State, and I had gone back to school to become a teacher. And in New York State, once you get your teacher certification, you need to get a master's degree, advanced certification. And I saw a list of like 5 or 6 that would be good. I was a social studies teacher, and one of them was creative studies. And I'm like, what's that? I'll apply. And that's how I got into the program, and that led to various steps to what I do now.
And do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do now?
Sure. So I work for the Creative Education Foundation, which is a nonprofit that's like, 60, 70 years old. And it was started by 2 men. And one of them, Alex Osborne, is the man who invented brainstorming. And people are like, brainstorming was invented? And like, yes, it was a process. So that processes are invented. And he worked in an advertising agency called BBD&O. He was the O. It's still around. It's in New York City. It's one of those big fancy ad agencies. And what he saw his creative team doing, he thought, I feel like this could be applied to other challenges in real life. And so he started doing seminars and lectures and talking to people about it. And a woman said, ooh, this feels like a storm in my brain. So he eventually got together with Sid Parnes, who was an educator, and they created the Parnes-Osborne creative problem solving process. And that's what my organization does. We teach people how to solve problems creatively and on purpose. So my job involves, part of it is like teaching people, and then part of it is creating events in space where other people are taught. So this year, everything we've done has been here on Zoom. Previously, we would go into schools or organizations and teach people tools and techniques to help them get to solutions faster. So if we were working with a school, which we do a lot, we would go in probably on a Monday, which is when normally teachers would have their professional development. That's the day that kids don't have to go to school, but teachers do. So when your teacher's at the building and you're not, I would be that person teaching them. And they would learn different activities and things to do. And then the rest of the week, we would go into the classroom, try and visit every classroom in a building and help teachers so that they can see what it looks like and work with the students. So that's like half of my job. And the other half is holding training events where lots of people would come to us. So our biggest one is the Creative Problem Solving Institute, and it's a 5-day training conference. And it's held in Buffalo because that's where it's one of the birth grounds of deliberate creative studies. And we get 400 or 500 people from 31 different countries that would come to be really immersed in deliberate creative studies and things that are related to that. So like design thinking or agile thinking, which is something that's used in a lot of industries, and things that are really tangentially related. So like kind of related, but you wouldn't think of them It's not like a direct, oh, I see that. Like peanut butter and jelly, they totally go together. Peanut butter and marshmallow fluff, you don't see that initially, but when you get it together, you're like, oh, this is amazing in my mouth. So sometimes we have laughter yoga, or we had modern dance. We've had, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like people who, aerialists, I guess, like they would have
Like this,
sheets and ropes strung from the ceiling, and they do things and they talk about how doing this helps them look at things, challenges creatively, because what they're doing is impossible, but this is how they make it possible. And that's really what we do when we're doing innovation training, is taking things that might seem impossible and figuring out how to make it possible. So one of our basic tenets, like the first thing that we learn is phrasing challenges and problems as questions. So like when you've got a problem, if you're like, I'm unhealthy, that doesn't really get you anywhere. It's really just like complaining. So what we do is we turn that into a question, and we use things like, we call them statement starters, but it's like the beginning that helps you get to a question. So things like how to become healthier, or what might be all of the ways I could exercise more, or what might be all of the things that I could eat that are good for my body. So turning statements into questions. So that's what I do. So a lot of that now is on Zoom, where I teach people. Like Zoom has made it super easy because people from all over the world can just log on from their office or house and participate in things.
yeah, that is probably one good thing that's come out of video meetings. That all sounds awesome, and I'm wondering why my county hasn't done anything with that yet. So,
Give me a call.
we're gonna have to talk after this interview a little bit. That definitely sounds like something a lot of schools could really use.
Like our goal is to ignite creativity worldwide, and my job is kind of weird because I teach, but I'm not a teacher, and I train people, but not with kettlebells. And when I say that I work in the creativity field, people respond with, oh, I'm not artistic. And I'm like, so you're creative. You might not be artistic. All artists are creative. Not all creative people are artists. Like my grandmother, wildly creative in the kitchen. And moms are wildly creative because they can get people to be dressed in all of the things that they need to be wearing and out the door on time. That's not easy. That requires creativity. If you've ever babysat and you have had to keep a 2-year-old occupied, you're creative. If you've figured out how to get someplace when the normal way that you go is blocked for some reason, you're creative. It's just people don't understand that, and they just kind of like have a narrow view of it. So we work with schools so that they'll be, because then you can hit people up when they're young and then they grow up and then not everybody is creative. But we find that the most important thing in life is you should always be a student. You should be a lifelong learner. And just because you graduated from high school doesn't mean you should stop learning. And you don't necessarily have to use whiteboards and notebooks and tests anymore, but you should be learning in any way that you can. So people that like attend our conferences are just curious and interested. So they're just always trying to like learn something, figure something out, ask questions, go down rabbit holes.
Yeah, I mean that's something I tell my kids all the time, and that's what everybody says teachers are. Teachers are lifelong learners because
Yeah.
we don't go into, like, at least I don't go into the classroom saying I know everything. If a kid asks a question and I don't know the answer, I'm like, let's figure out what the answer to that is together.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things when we're working with teachers is saying, like, your job isn't to know the answers. Your job is to say, let's find them. And so anytime you can find an answer with, and it's even better finding an answer with somebody else. And that's why classrooms are great, because, you know, the student who's sitting next to you, your friend, the classroom across the hall, like, let's go find some answers. Or even just like find more questions. Because sometimes a question doesn't lead to an answer. Sometimes a question leads to 17 more questions.
And it's fun trying to find the answer to all of those. Yeah, I think that's one, like, I love that, like, everything you've talked about so far definitely falls under like the growth mindset type of
Yeah.
something that's really pushed in schools nowadays, which is a good thing because I mean, I know growing up the other type of mindset, which is totally left my mind right now.
Fixed.
Yes,
mindset.
yes, fixed mindset. See, I'm all about growth now, so I'm not even thinking about fixed anymore.
It doesn't even exist.
Like the fixed mindset, I even catch myself all the time, like saying things like, oh no, math. This is why I became a language arts teacher, because, you know, math isn't my strong suit. And then it's like I have to think in the back of my mind, you tutored math for 2 years. Like, you can do this if you really put your mind to it. You know, and you got to stop saying that you're not good at something and say, I'm not good at something yet. Like, adding that yet at the end is so important.
The magic word.
Yes, it is a magic word. And so this is awesome. I'm really glad I'm getting to talk to you today. I'm learning so much talking to you today.
Yeah.
So I think you sort of may have hit the question of what inspired you, but do you want to sort of say, so you said you sort of fell into this. So what inspired you?
So I had gotten the degree, and it used to be called Masters of Creative Studies and Innovation, I think, at Buffalo State, which is in Buffalo, New York. Now I think it's called Applied Imagination, which tingly, right?
Yeah.
So I in that field, like, people who've gone through that master's degree, there's a lot of conferences and additional training, because always learning more. And I got tapped to volunteer for the Creative Education, their Creative Problem Solving Institute. We call it CPSI, CPSI. And I volunteered in the youth program for a while. Then I taught applied improv, which is like, if you've ever seen Whose Line Is It Anyway, it's using that kind of yes and fun games and activities to demonstrate and practice behaviors that you want to have when the stakes are higher, because improv is practicing in play so that you can be skilled at it when you need to use it. And then I was teaching, and I just started working for them. A friend who was running the conference asked me to run the logistics of the conference, and then I just eventually got hired. So that's what inspired me. And I think it's because these people that I get to deal with are amazing. Like, this is my desk. This is where I spend, all day pretty much. And things that I have, Legos. We have lots and lots of Legos, because I work with people who do Lego Serious Play, which is using Legos with adults. They go into companies pay these people to come in, Lego Serious Play, and they use Legos to, like, okay guys, construct what your challenge is. And so they like build tangible representations of what their problem is, and then they look at it from all angles, and then it just creates a way to deal with. And these are problems that aren't like, oh, we can't get item A to place B. It's we've got a breakdown in communication. So this is super cool. we use pipe cleaners all of the time. I have a budget line for pipe cleaners and Play-Doh and Legos. And just being around people who understand the value and like the fantastic solutions that you can create when you're willing to look at it in a different way, you know, with Legos. It's wildly inspiring, and it's so much fun.
And I mean, and that's what I think a lot of jobs don't have enough of these days. Is fun and play. Like they talk about how important play is, you know, in elementary school and kindergarten, but it's also important, you know.
There's a mistaken belief that the opposite of play is work. And so if you're not working, you know, if you're playing, you're not working. The opposite of play is death. That's not your goal. You want to be, so I work with a lot of like innovators, entrepreneurs, people who are starting new businesses, and they are playing around with ideas. They're playing around with solutions. They may build prototypes of what they need so that they can see it. All of that looks like play. It involves play things. It involves like when you're playing with your friends, you're like, hey, should we try this? Like, what if we do that? You know, I can do this voice. And, you know, those are all of the things that you need when you're trying to create new ideas, when you're trying to change the way things are done. Because if you don't go, I want to say go weird, you know, you've got to push to the crazy, because crazy is where you get the new. And if you're not going crazy and new, what you're doing is same. And then that's not solving your problem, that's saming your problem. So you're going to have the same problem. And having that what if mindset is how we have computers in our pocket that are fantastic cameras and recording devices that can broadcast around the world. That was not a thing when I was in 6th grade at all. I remember when cordless phones were invented. And so, you know, we need to play with ideas. We need to play with possibilities. And then you can craft them. And that's what work is.
You're blowing my mind. All I could say right now, like, yes, this is. Yeah, I feel like everything you're saying like just makes complete and utter sense, and like falls into philosophies I have about, you know, kids and teaching and how the world should be, you know, in the sense of all this stuff. But
I was an adjunct professor for at-risk incoming freshmen for years, and our class was creative problem solving tools and techniques for scholastic success. That sounds fascinating. But what it really was learning hacks. And one of the things that we would teach them is, you know how you learned in kindergarten? That's how you learned the best. So try and kindergarten all of your learning. Add song, add motion, add color. That's how we, you know, our brain, you know, when we're getting information, if we make like one connection, I mean, that's fine. But if we make 1,000 billion connections, and we call it sticky, things that like really stick in your head, like theme songs to TV shows that you have watched, you know, you've binged and watched all of them. That gets stuck in your mind a lot more than where you put your science book, because you just did that, so there's like one connection, and the theme song has 1,000 connections, so that building more connections, and you do that with different things like color and shape and movement, and then if you're doing it and they're enjoying it, those connections are made faster your brain creates connections faster that way.
And you realize at the very last minute, oh my goodness, I'm having fun, but I'm also learning. And yeah, and I mean, especially teaching in a virtual world, trying to figure out how to make those connections in a different way. Because, seeing those light bulb moments in a classroom is one thing, but I can't really see the light bulb moments when I'm staring at a black box with your name in it. Like that's one of yeah. But when they do happen, especially in this new teaching environment, it's amazing. And that's the one thing I really miss about the classroom is being able to help make all those connections and help, and try to do stuff in different ways. Because there's only so many ways you can, you can do things on a computer that aren't tactile.
Yeah. And like that's hard for us because when we're doing our training, it's all experiential. You're in there doing it. So when we have to do trainings on Zoom, we send packages to people. That's why I have these at my desk. Everybody gets pipe cleaners. Everybody gets Post-its and Sharpies. I have I just had to send out packets for training. So one of the sessions is about making virtual training a ball. And so we send balls to people. Yeah, that it's a challenge. It's not something that we can't overcome, but it does change the feedback thing. We use a virtual whiteboard called Mural, and it has a celebrate button. So when the person in charge of the mural, they can hit celebrate and confetti rains, virtual confetti rains down. I'm like, I want Zoom to have that.
We use Canvas as our learning management place where the kids all where we put our stuff and after the kids submit stuff. And when they submit stuff, they get confetti.
Yeah.
And because we had snow days and stuff before our winter break, so I forgot to change the due date on an assignment. So we were doing it in class, and I was helping a couple of kids. They had to write poems, and when they would hit the submit, they would go, "Where's my confetti?" But they didn't get it because it was considered late. In an assignment late, you don't get confetti. I felt so bad that they didn't get their confetti. But even little things like that, just make so much of a difference.
I'm back in grad school again. Because I'm Ravenclaw, if you don't know your Harry Potter house, which I do, and we all do at my job. And we use Canvas. We use Canvas. This is for an MBA program, and we use Canvas. And the first time I submitted, I got confetti. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
confetti is always appropriate.
It is, and I think sometimes the kids don't realize how much fun us adults want to have, so they just sort of give us these funky looks. But
I think the thing that surprises, as I get older and I'm, getting close to the age of dirt, the fact that inside you don't get older and you still enjoy. I mean, some of the things change, some of the things that I enjoy, I remember the first time I walked into a toy store and I wasn't like, I need all of these things. By the way, I'm back to that and I'm like, oh, I need all of these things. But we still love that stuff. If I were to hear the ice cream truck drive down my street right now, I am 50 years old. I would be booking out that door because that we don't stop wanting to play. We forget to, but it still touches a part of our heart where
yeah. And yeah, I'm not even gonna comment anything because I just agree. As I look at my desk and I see my Baby Yoda shrine and my Star Wars finger puppets, these things that may pop up, may pop up somewhere, in a classroom, you just, it's, I don't know. I'm just gonna agree. Everything you're saying, everything you're saying is also reminding me of my dad, who's about to see that I need more fun stuff like that. That's why I love Spirit Week. Whenever we have Spirit Week, because you get to dress up and have a whole bunch of fun.
Yeah.
So
can we just talk about pajama day?
Every day is pajama day in virtual learning world.
Pajama day when I was a middle school teacher, I'm like, yes, wearing my slippers at work.
Yeah, it's the best ever. And I think I always, when I first started teaching, it was Spirit Week. I'd always get excited for it because I always wanted to participate, but then I'd sit in my car for a couple minutes because I'm decked out and I'm looking at the teachers that are walking in and none of them are dressed up, and I'm like, oh God, they're all gonna be turning their nose up at me, this little new first year teacher. And then I got to a point where I was just I don't care, and I'm walking. Now they all expect it. If I don't come in dressed up on Spirit Day, now they're like, what's wrong? Why? Because they seem like they're a little afraid to get into the swing of it, like I was sitting in my car, because I could have gone the other direction and said, you know what, this anxiety is not worth it. I'm just gonna go in normally, let the kids have their fun. But why am I just gonna let the kids have their fun? I deserve to have some fun too.
Well, and I think students enjoy it when teachers enjoy it, and it's modeling bravery and being okay with having fun. And if you take yourself too seriously, then you might die without a smile on your face. Don't miss an opportunity to laugh. Never throw a laugh in the garbage. Keep those laughs. Those bad boys are cool. You want to have them forever. Yes. The person who has the most laughs wins.
That is
fact.
That is very true. I have to bring some of these good insights in the school on when we go back in when I have my classes in on Tuesday. So, you've talked about a lot of amazing favorites. It seems like you have lots of favorite parts of your job. But I guess, what would be your least favorite? What's one of your least favorite things about this? I mean, you get to play with pipe cleaners and Play-Doh, so I can't even imagine if you have a least favorite thing.
So part of my job, when we're running the conference, I have 25 dedicated volunteers. They're called wings because the conference is in Buffalo, and they also they fly to service, and they can be any age, 18 and above. We do tend to hit college students the most because it's a 2.5 week commitment, and not many people can take off 2.5 weeks from work, and they are amazing and dedicated and the most fantastic people. To run a conference the size that we do, we have our morning meeting at breakfast at 7 a.m. and the pub at night shuts down at midnight, sometimes 1. So they can very well be working that entire time. And by working, I mean on your feet running. We take over a college campus. So we actually rent golf carts to drive people around in. And we have a WhatsApp, because that's how we communicate, because we're on a college campus and Shelby may be close to. So because it's wings where we eat, we call it the bird feeder, and our place where all of our supplies are located is the nest. So Shelby may be at the nest where we have all our supplies, and somebody needs pipe cleaners in a building on the other edge of campus, and so it's just easier, instead of them to go all the way back to the nest and back, Shelby's like, I'll bring some over. And we have a joke, and I hope this isn't too bad, but we joke about Stockholm syndrome, and I can leave that explanation to you for a later day, because we had a situation where a session was supposed to be capped at 30 people, and it didn't get capped, and there were 90 people signed up for it. And as I said, these sessions are all highly hands-on interactive, so we needed to set a large room for this kind of training. So that involved like moving tables and chairs, moving easels, getting flip charts, getting all of the supplies for it. And the wings like took us and got that all done. And one of the leaders was like, that was unbelievable. I want to do a special thank you for the wings. Is there like any treat, like cupcakes or like special candy? And I was like, we've had people would bring us, because that's another part of our population is we demonstrate gratitude. So people had been bringing in us like donut holes and lots of chocolate. And we had a lot of candy. We had like secret medicinal chocolate in places too. And I'm like, you know what we could really use? It's Buffalo gets very hot in the summer. It's humid. And if they had water bottles that they could just grab and go, that would be great. And she was like, water? They want water? She's like, prisoners get water. And I'm like, I know, but like, it's not like we don't give them water. So, but they're always like the first to say, pick me, or I got this, or how can I help? Almost always. And if we get somebody who just doesn't jive with that, and I have to have a conversation with them about yelling at people or avoiding work, like we've got 4 main rules, and the 4th one is be nice to wings, because when you're working this hard, it's easy to like snap at the person next to you. We don't do that. We love each other unconditionally and fully. And when people continually aren't behaving in that manner, and I have to talk to them, I don't like that. I don't like telling people that they have to be nice. Because I think that's hard to hear, and it's really hard to do. I tend to be empathic, and so I feel the pain of I have to tell you that you're not being nice, and also I feel the pain of being told, do you know you're not nice?
Yeah, any type of discipline isn't very fun.
It's just,
or getting on people's cases. Yeah, because you never know what their day is like either.
Yeah, and I get like what we do is really, it's exhausting. And so I understand that, but if the wings always engage, I always have some kind of secret activity that's just for them, because play keeps your energy up. And so we have like secret bingo, like nobody else, no one in the conference knows what's going on, but for some reason, like weird things start happening, and it breeds weird, which brings joy. And when I've had like wings, they're like, this is a waste of time. And so trying to explain to them that joy is never a waste of time. It's just hard.
Yeah. Let's get on to more exciting topics in that sense.
I can tell you one of the weird things that happened because we breed weird and I wasn't in charge of it at all, and it just kind of happened.
Oh, definitely.
But it's one of my favorites. So every conference has a theme. This 21, it's grow. This year it was vision, and then everything changed, so it became revision. But a few years ago, the conference theme was unexpected. And so we spend a lot of time and energy and money on creating an ambiance that matches the theme. So I'm like, okay, unexpected things. What can be unexpected? Change. Setting a pattern and then changing it as unexpected. So as you do, I bought 20 pink flamingo lawn things. And we set them out in a place. And so that became a wing job, was like, now that you knew that it was like, so the flamingos are over there, and then the wings at night would change them to a new place. Oh, that's unexpected. So one of the conference attendees, adult who paid to attend this conference, came up to my coworker and was like, so are only wings allowed to move those things? And she's like, no, go for it. So he lined them. We've got this one hallway that's got floor to ceiling windows, and he lined them all along the windows so they were looking in. And then gradually people started turning one out, so it looked like they were following the leader away. And people are like, oh, flamingos form a line. So we have Post-its everywhere, because that's like the currency of thought. And so there were some pink Post-its, and somebody wrote on it, flamingos follow in a line, and put it on the window over there, where they had been lined up. And somebody else was like, flamingo fun facts. And they started some people were looking up flamingo facts and putting them up. Some people were making them up. You got flamingos are pink because they eat shrimp. That's true. Flamingos who won't leave when you want to go to bed are called flaming stays. Not true. And there were probably 100 of these pink Post-it fun facts on this window by the end of 2 days later. And it's just that was not planned. We plan weird things like that. It wasn't planned. It was just people were yes-anding play, and wondering things like what are some real fun facts, and making fun facts up. And it's just such a delight for me to see that kind of thing happen, and it's just always my favorite now.
That is awesome. That sounds like something fun that could be done in a classroom too, randomly put something up and then just see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm stealing some ideas. So what kind of training, or did you need to go to college, or degrees? You were talking a little bit about how you were going to school, and that's sort of how you fell into it. So if somebody wanted to actually plan to go into this type of job, what kind of training or degrees do you think they'd need?
So I have the master's in creativity and innovation. Buffalo State offers it. I think Stanford has the D school, the design school. I know there's one in Columbia and one in Denmark that offer similar type degrees. We also have people who when those 400 or 500 people come to be trained, I don't train all of them because my coworker Missy and I are running the conference. So we have volunteers who work as trainers, and they've either gone through those programs, or they've even come to our conference and been trained in creative problem solving, and have just, so getting the training from we offer accreditation, so accredited organization grad school, or an organization that does that training, and then attending conferences, learning conferences where you go to sessions and you learn. I'm on a number, I get Google alerts. You can sign up on Google, and if somebody publishes an article, it'll send you the link to it. So I have Google alerts for creative problem solving, for innovation, for play, so that I can see what's happening. So a lot of reading and being involved in creativity communities is really how that happens. And as an adult, networking is the best thing for getting a job. So attending these things and getting to know people, and when they ask for volunteers, raise your hand. Volunteerism is a great way to learn. It's kind of internships, really, quicker internships, getting mentors in that field. And if anybody is interested in that, we're starting a creativity club next month for 13, so it might be a little old for your crew, but our conference in the summer, we are planning on having an in-person conference in 22. We've got a Youth-Wise program, and it's like 6 years old and up, and they're involved in that. Now, things like Odyssey of the Mind or Invention Convention, Destination Imagination, that's all what we do. So doing those things, that helps you learn if you like that, and gets experience. A lot of our people are those leaders. So getting that.
I'll have to get some links from you to put in the description. So if anybody is interested in possibly looking into these conferences and attending them, like maybe Ms.Murray.
Sorry. There's one in Italy.
So we can talk about this more a little later, but I actually, one of the things I signed up for was to be a traveling teacher. And so my training for being a traveling teacher was in Rome. And then we took a group of 19 students to Ireland and Scotland in 2019. And hopefully, fingers crossed, this summer, we're going to Scandinavia with a group as well. So it's been pretty awesome. So yes, if I hear anything about being overseas, I'm all about it now, because that trip to Rome back in 2019 was my first time leaving the East Coast, the United States ever. So it was a big deal for me, being in my 30s, being able to go out and do that. So it was fun.
Yeah, there are a lot of conferences that I can put you in touch with. Some have youth programs, some don't. Ours has a youth program, Mind Camp, which is in Orillia, which is like an hour or so outside of Toronto, Canada. They've got a youth program that, and all of these things like wildly hands-on. Like at Mind Camp, you're constantly seeing like this passel of youth run to the lake to do something, and the leaders all come in and teach something to the kids.
These also sound like great things for kids to do after being cooped up for so long.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to get these things into the minds and hands of my viewers, students, whoever happens to be watching this, because this, like everything you've talked about so far, has sounded awesome, and I want to learn more about it. So I'm really glad to talk today.
It's also fun.
Yes, we're not done talking yet. So I have one more question, and then we're going to jump into the lightning round. So the last question of, I guess we'll say the informative questions, even though I think they're all informative, is what advice do you have for any inspiring innovators?
Attend conferences, get to know people, get to see what they're doing, get to so we were talking about like borrowing generously, and there's a polarity on that of you can't cheat or break copyright laws, but learning something and then morphing it to be useful for you in your situation. And anytime you have an opportunity to go and learn from somebody on anything, do it. Steve Jobs took calligraphy, and that's why he insisted on different fonts being loaded into the computers. And learning is never wasted. So go learn something, follow a passion, and then try and relate it to something that you're interested in, even if it doesn't seem relatable. So read unusual things, watch TV shows that you wouldn't watch, go places that you wouldn't normally go to, attend, when events are a thing, go attend concerts or sports games or, a theater, something that you wouldn't normally go to. Go to an art gallery and see what you can get out of that relates to. Like, if you're a huge lacrosse fan, go and see Joseph Pollock and see what his art, how that can inspire how you play. Because creating those unusual connections, that's building that muscle to be able to do that helps you help other people do that, and that's what I do.
Very good advice. Okay, thank you. Okay, are you ready for our lightning round?
I need to get adjusted. I have a yoga ball chair. And so I need
fun than my plain old chair here. With a supernatural blanket on the back. Okay. Yes. Okay. If you could visit any place in the world, where would it be?
New Zealand.
Me too. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I'd be able to fly so that I could visit all of the places.
Who's your favorite superhero?
Probably Wonder Woman, because she's just so freaking cool.
Favorite movie?
I really loved An American President. Probably the one that I've watched the most.
Favorite song?
I'm jiving on Lizzo right now.
Very good. Cartoon character?
Calvin and Hobbes. I have the t-shirt that says, "Don't you hate it when your boogers freeze?" Because, I mean, truth, and I live in Buffalo, so.
I like all the Calvin and Hobbes like fan things where like I have one of Chewbacca and Han in the Millennium Falcon. They're the best.
Yeah.
Favorite animal?
Dogs. We just had to put down my Puggle Baxter, and he was the cutest ever. So all those memes that say I go to the party just to meet the dogs, I feel seen. I love all of the puppies.
I can't drive down a road without like seeing a dog and then not saying the word dog. That's basic. Even if I'm by myself in the car, I still have to dog.
I travel a lot for work, and I love like seeing dogs in airports. You're like, can I pet you?
It's like, no, they're working. Oh goodness. Yes. And then you just sit there and you go, oh, they're doing such a good job doing their job.
You go, what? You're a good boy. Look at you just doing. Yes.
Yes, dogs are the best. Okay. Favorite food?
Lobster. But if creme brulee is on the menu, the rule is you order creme brulee
first, right? You always have to eat that first before
you start with dessert first. You don't know what's gonna happen. But I very rarely go a day without chocolate. So
I think chocolate is like a teacher's like first food group. Favorite drink?
This is ice water with lemon, and I drink that all the time, but I'm never opposed to an orange crush for breakfast, like before you've brushed your teeth. But I don't do that much.
has to be a special kind of day. Favorite emoji?
Oh, the laughing till you cry. I think my second one is Winky Face, but
I tend to go with the shrug one. That one's one of my favorites too.
My one daughter, she likes the hair toss one.
That is a good one. I haven't seen that one. I need to look for that one. Okay, so before we say our goodbyes, is there any sort of last thing you would like to say to all those, all the kids or maybe hopefully adults out there that may be watching this?
Ask questions. Live what if mind life. That will take you in so many places you never thought you'd see.
Okay, that is good final words here. I want to thank you so much for being here and letting me interview you and talking about this awesome career that you have. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me play with you.
Okay, thank you so much, Beth, and I'll see everybody else tomorrow for Tips and Tricks Thursday. Bye.